Good morning, gamers. Welcome to the Demon Zone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another stream. I'll be your host this week. My name is John, the Final Gamer, and I am delighted to be here. How's everyone doing? Yep, we're back. This studio is starting to set up, take on some kind of functional appearance. I know you guys can't see it, but I can basically kind of walk around it now without tripping over a bunch of shit, which is pretty good. I'm liking that I can walk around in it. That's been good. I don't think we would have known that your floor was covered in stuff if you didn't tell us. Okay, listen, 5new_lover. The thing you need to understand about me, above anyone else on the internet, is that I'm real, okay? I'm a real ass motherfucker, and I tell it like it is. That's always actually, that's actually always a kind of like a warning sign for me, and like when I start getting into a new like kind of YouTuber or Twitch streamer or whatever, whenever anyone's like, well, the difference between me and everyone else on the internet is I'm fucking real. And that's the point where I'm like, oh no. And then I feel like inevitably 6 months later, I start seeing like drama videos about these people, and it's like, yes, that's it, all right. You got me. It's the authenticity. It's true. I'm just a relatable person. I was actually thinking about how probably unrelatable I am at this point. I was thinking about how long it's been since I worked a job and had to, well, like, I mean, I work a job, but I'm in charge and I do it. But it's been so long since I worked for someone. It's been so long since someone had authority over me, or I had to obey silly rules. I had a nightmare last night, chat. I swear to God, this is an actual nightmare I had. I was sitting at a cubicle, and this man walked over to me who I had never met before, and he said, "John," and I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Just to let you know, your screen's idling," and I was like, "Oh, okay," and then he kind of walked away, and I looked at my screen, and the screensaver had like started going because I hadn't touched my computer in like 4 minutes, and then I woke up horrified. I was like, that was really scary. So I used to work jobs like that a long time ago. If you work jobs like that, I respect that. I know the subtle misery that jobs like that can bring. I spent maybe 6 years working positions like that, and I'm pretty glad I don't anymore. But yeah, that was the kind of nightmare I have, chat. That's my reality. Yeah. Your job is to help us at work at our job. Cinnamon Pumpkin, I really agree with that. I think that's kind of what I'm here for. A like low percentage reduction of misery. Like we'll say like maybe 20%. I use a small object holding down one key so I never appear as idle when I work from home. Man, it's shit like that used to get me through some of those days. Although like I would work, like I did like working. I think I've told this story before, but like when I started working at a studio once, it was in the contract with the animation studio that they were working with that they had to hire X number of compositing artists by X date. And so they hired me, and they were like, just so you know, we're not going to have any work for you for like, I would say maybe 6 to 8 weeks. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, am I going to get paid? And they were like, oh yeah, don't worry about that. And then I was like, okay, do I have to come in? And they were like, yes, you do have to come in. And I was like, okay, I mean, this seems like a pretty sweet deal. But I think at the time, what I didn't realize was that meant I would have to come in and sit at a desk 9 to 5 every day doing nothing. Like literally come in, sit down, and stare at my monitor. Now, this place had like a media server, so I would spend all day, every day, going through the media server, watching movies. I got so bored that I drew a drawing of Bowser one day, and that drawing, ladies and gentlemen, got to the front page of Reddit. That was my claim to fame before the YouTube shit. Hey John, why did you install a GBA emulator on the Office PC? Legit, like legit. But you know, one thing that was like weird was like the first week I was like the fucking cat that had got the cream. Like I swear to God, I was like so happy that like I had landed this gig. And then by the second week it started getting like pretty fucking old. Like I started feeling like I'd come in, right? And like I would watch I'd come in the morning and I'd stick on a movie and I'd watch it. And then by the end of the day, I'd have watched like 3 movies and I was so tired of watching movies. You know, it was like, God, this is kind of fucking mind-numbing, you know? And like I watched all of Arrested Development, I watched all this shit while I was working there. But after a while, when you have to sit in the one place and you just have to watch this stuff, and it's not really your choice because it's either watch stuff or literally just stare at a blank monitor, I was just like, oh my God. And that stretched on for 8 weeks. Like 8 fucking weeks. And it was like just one of the most mind-numbing periods I had ever experienced. Like it was genuinely like, oh my God, what even am I? So like by the time that work actually started, I was kind of happy there. And I was happy there, you know. I actually got I ended up getting close with a lot of people who I hadn't been that close with before. So if you know Brobex from the merch, that's I think where I got close with her. If you know Sudden Mango, who occasionally appears on my Instagram, that's where I got close to her. If you know Brian from Let's Fight a Boss, I didn't get close to Brian in that job. We were already pretty tight, but we hung out a lot in that job. It was funny. I actually I played a large part in getting Brian that position, right? Because he was applying for like basically like an open position on my team. And so I phoned up Brian and they sent Brian a test, and I phoned up Brian and I told Brian exactly how to do the test, like down to like the file layout. I was like, okay, this is how you do that. And so then our team lead, we were all like reviewing portfolios, and our team lead calls us all up to do this, and he gets to Brian's test and he opens it up and he's like, wow, this guy's really good. And then he was like, this guy's perfect. And then I'll never forget it. He just goes, how does he know our file structure? And I'm just sitting there just like, okay, all right. I don't know how to handle this. So I just didn't say anything. Right? And so Brian gets called in for an interview. I love Brian. Brian is one of my best friends in the entire world. But I could fucking murder him sometimes. But he comes in and me and him have a little talk outside the building. And I'm like, Brian, you cannot fucking tell them that I helped you with that test. You will not get the job and I will be in trouble. Like, he looks at me and he's like, I would never do that. No way. And I was like, okay, cool. So Brian goes in and has his interview with my boss, and he comes back out of it and just disappears out of the building, like completely disappears out of the building. And then I immediately get a text message from him being like, hey John, listen, I told him that you helped me with the test, but I think the interview went pretty well. And I just wanted to fucking kill him. So I ended up staying at this job for like maybe 3 years. Or maybe kind of 2 years-ish. And I think it was one of those jobs where like I was very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when it started. And then the longer it went on, the more like depressing and sad it got. The studio I was working for was doing a job for like a very large studio. This very large, very well-known animation studio. And they basically instituted a whole other policy. So we came in one day and the media server was gone. Just wiped, completely gone. Everyone was really, really pissed. That's every job, John. I have worked jobs that I really enjoyed. And I don't think that's every job. I think it's a lot of jobs. With this particular one, this was the time where like I came out to go to the bathroom one day and there was a girl standing outside the bathroom with a stopwatch because she was timing everyone who went to the bathroom and how long they would take in the bathroom, which was just kind of fucking nutty, you know? I accidentally became a very important person on my job, and I really hate it. That's happened to me as well, the pickle, and it sucks. It's so fucking miserable. So then, like, you know, there was all this stuff with the job, and then, like, you know, we couldn't use USB sticks in the USB slots anymore. All that shit was deleted, and like, it just got really, really kind of mind-numbing. And so, like, we ended up finishing up the first season of this show I was on, and I left. Also, there was a person who worked there, and they weren't like a bad person. Like, they weren't. It was just, do you ever work with this person, the kind of person, and it's like, they're not like an evil person, they're not mean, but they're just so fucking annoying. There was a guy like that, and I always tried to get on with him because I could see, like, he wasn't a bad dude, you know. He was just maybe like a bit sheltered. Like, his mom used to buy his clothes, and he was like 35 or something like that. He was a kind of dude who like, he just, God bless him, he could not fucking help falling in love with any female that came into his vicinity. I don't know why I said female like that. that was the thing about this dude. He did have like weird ideas about women. Like, I remember one time I was at lunch with him, and he was like, "'Cause you know, John, women are fucking filthy." And he said it like that, and I was like, what? He just loved dick jokes. This was in a period where slightly before you could get like cancelled for that stuff. But he would just draw dicks on everything all the fucking time. You go away from your desk, you come back, there's a dick on your screen. You know, it's all this kind of shit. And like, I really tried like to get on with him, and like, I did, you know, we both like video games and stuff like that. But I think like, just whenever me and him were like alone, it would kind of come back to this thing where he'd be like, "But like, seriously, John, like, women the fucking problem, aren't they? Oh, you know, you like, you'd never like, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing." And I'd be like, "Oh man," I'm gonna call him Steve. "Oh man, Steve, I don't know about that." I kind of like, look, I don't want to come across as a leftist feminist extremist here, but I'm pretty sure that the women are just existing. They're just existing, dude. And I think you might be putting maybe a little too much on them. I remember after a while I left this job because it just I had this day where like I was looking around me and there were people there in like their mid 40s working the same job I was, and I was like, oh, I think I gotta get out of here. I gotta do something. And it doesn't matter like if that something goes wrong. I have to take a swing here. Like, I have to try, you know, I have to try and do something because I'm not happy here. And I remember sitting next to a friend of mine who I really loved. It was this she was a Portuguese girl, and she barely spoke any English for the first year, and we still got on like really, really well. You know, like, it was just, she was just sound. Like, she was just like a good laugh, and like I liked hanging out with her. And one time, these motherfuckers, right, over at GameStop, they wouldn't give her a refund for her PlayStation 4 because it didn't work. And so she was able to like communicate this to me, and I was fucking pissed. And so I went down with her at lunch to GameStop, and I fucking ate into these pricks, and they gave her a new PS4 immediately. Like, the manager was just like, okay, Jesus Christ, okay. But like, they thought that they didn't have to do that because she didn't speak English, and I thought that was so fucked up, you know? John, the simple fact that you are a man whom a woman wanted to marry already makes you an extreme feminist leftist. Yeah. I think around the time that people started talking about men simping for their wives, kind of, I feel like the goalposts started to get moved pretty far at that point. But so anyway, with this girl, I always remember there was this one time where we got like 15-minute breaks, And during a 15-minute break, I stuck on a video essay and just watched it. And then I looked over at my friend, and she had on a like VFX showreel. And it was this fucking like kind of profound moment for me where I was like, how the fuck could she watch more VFX after we've spent the day doing VFX, you know? And the answer is because she loved it. You know, the answer is because she really gave a shit about what we were doing, and I didn't. And the problem wasn't with the job, the problem was with me. You know, like, I didn't love this shit. I didn't live for this shit. And so all that was going to happen is I was going to get left behind by the people who did, because they were going to always be up on the new technology. They were the ones who were always going to be striving to better. And I was going to be doing whatever I had to do to just get home at an efficient time. So eventually, look, I left the job. We got greenlit to do season 2 of the show I'd been working on. Everyone's delighted, right? The head of the company calls us all into a room and tells us that now we are working, doing a second season of the show, and everyone has jobs. And everyone's like cheering, and I think some people are like crying and hugging. And I feel like the fucking floor has opened up beneath me, you know? And I'm like, oh God. And so I decide not to come back. I leave. And then I go and I work another job, and long story short, I get fired from that job. I worked there for 11 months, and basically I took a job there as like an animator, and I animated some shit for it was like a startup company, but these like startup bros who had no fucking idea what they were doing. And then at the end of the week, I was like, who do you guys have to like to edit all this shit together? And they were like, what's an editor? And so I was like, oh, you guys need to hire an editor. And they were like, can you edit? And I was like, yeah. Long story short, I become the head of production there, and then eventually like they fire me, and it sucked. The reason they fired me is because they were just like, basically over the course of 10 months, they had me build a pipeline and hire a bunch of people to work in the pipeline. And then they fired me, and then they started firing my staff, and it sucked. It sucked so bad. And so that was like a really crushing moment in a lot of ways. And then I went back to the other job, the job at the studio that I swore I would never go back to. And I'll never forget it, right? I'm sitting there, my first day back, and I'm just staring into the space in front of me. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, I can't believe I'm back here. I'm earning like half of what I earned in the previous job. There's no like upward trajectory or job potential or anything. And I'm just like, oh God, this fucking sucks. And then into view walks Steve. And he has his fly open, and hanging from his fly is a dildo. And I just look at him, and I just wanted to cry. I was just like it was just this moment of like, I can't believe I'm back here. So basically, he had put the dildo in his pants as a joke and was just walking around the studio showing people that he had a dildo in his pants. And first day back. So then I worked there for another year. Then seen missing 10 years later. Now I'm streaming to you guys. And that's my story. A reality harsh enough to make someone commit to YouTube. Oh, ultra peg leg cat. Very true. Very normal work environment. Yeah. You couldn't get away with shit like that now, but back then you could.